everyone, and welcome to the Singapore Tourism Board's Marketing College. Today, we are very pleased to bring you another masterclass. Launched in 2020, the Masterclass series is a learning experience by STB's Marketing College that targets everyone in the travel and tourism industry and enables us to take a deep dive into specific marketing topics to drive agile, bold, and creative marketing. Continuing from the success of last year's classes, we have partnered with even more industry players and subject matter experts to create meaningful and relevant content for our webinars. Our objective is to really equip all of us in the travel and tourism industry with marketing knowledge to recover from COVID-19. Now more than ever, we all know that marketing capabilities are essential to enable travel and tourism businesses to traverse through the opportunities and challenges in our ever-changing post-pandemic world. Today, we're very pleased to have the team from Visa to really outline how we can maximize digital marketing in a post-pandemic world. A couple of housekeeping points before I introduce the speakers. You may like to input questions that you have for the speakers in the Q&A box right there on Zoom. And for a better webinar experience, we would strongly recommend that you join this masterclass session by downloading the Zoom app on your desktop or laptop instead of your phone. Without further ado, let me introduce the speakers that we have today. Today's masterclass will be brought to you by Liru Chan, the head of marketing for Visa in Singapore. As the head of marketing, she's responsible for the growth of Visa's brand health in Singapore and helps Visa's clients propel their business goals through marketing. In addition, Liru is responsible for driving value-added services revenue as well. And joining Liru on the line, we have Lynn Hoy, who is the Digital Engagement and Media Partnership Lead for Singapore. Lynn is the Digital Engagement and Media Partnership Lead, as I mentioned, and she's responsible for driving all digital engagement, as well as leading media partnerships across Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand. I'm sure today will be a very engaging session, and we look forward to your Q&As in the chat box, as mentioned. Good morning, ladies, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Del. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good morning, and thank you for joining today's webinar. I'm Liru, and thank you so much to the Singapore Tourism Board for having us. Today, we're actually going to go on a journey of how Visa has pivoted our marketing in COVID times to support local businesses. And then we're trying to go to look ahead to when travel returns, when that happens, and how we will use data as well as insights to plan our marketing to reach the right audiences. So to go on this journey requires us to take a step back in time to last year when Singapore first entered into the circuit breaker. As small businesses, you would have felt the impact. And in these challenging times, Visa has pledged to support millions of SMEs globally. And in Asia Pacific specifically, we've pledged to support 10 million SMEs. One of the ways we've done so is through an initiative called Where You Shop Matters. And Where You Shop Matters is all about raising awareness of small business and putting out a call to action to consumers like you and I about the impact of where we choose to spend. In our campaign, we say, as shoppers, you've never had more power. Where you spend your money can have real and direct benefits to the local hawkers, fashion designers, and more in your community. In our campaign and ads, we heroed 8 small businesses that all have unique stories on how they survived, thrived, and even given back to the community. Just to highlight a few, Dawn from Minor Miracles, who was the first local fashion designer to start creating masks from her very colorful fabrics, and she donated all the proceeds to migrant workers community. Victor, who's just right next to Dawn, from At Tea, he creates beautiful artisanal teas with very, very unique local flavors such as pandan, chicken rice. He learned how to get his e-commerce website up in just 4 days after the pandemic hit. And Melvin from Gingy Duck Rice, he's a 2nd-generation hawker, and he started the Hawkers United Facebook group to help other hawkers. And last but not least, Mr. Vera from Brinders, who pivoted to packing 4,000 meals a day for migrant workers, even though that was not his core business before the pandemic. So now we're going to watch a video starring the merchants. Please roll the video. Thank you.
You can feel in the air there's this kampong spirit happening.
Although we are not a frontliner,
we can prevent the disease.
We had a lot of fabrics in-house, so we turned our fabrics into masks.
We were supported like 4,000 meals a day to the workers. Visa card has helped us pay the suppliers on time.
Instead of counting cash, right now everything is digitalized.
We feel honored to be back and providing these value-added services to the community.
Where you shop can have a big impact in your local community.
Visa believes that small businesses are the heart and soul of the community, so we're committed to supporting them to participate in the digital economy.
Thank you. So the feedback from small businesses have actually been very encouraging. Melvin from the Mind Cafe tells us that the campaign has been a dream come true for him. Previously, a lot of his audiences were young students who used to go to Mind Cafe after school to hang out. He's never actually been able to reach new audiences such as families. And with the campaign, now he's known and he's been able to reach new audiences such as families. I think the other thing that he said to us was more from a B2B perspective as well. After the campaign, many suppliers actually approached him to look for opportunities to co-create unique board games so that he can sell that even more to a bigger audience. Dawn from Minor Miracles, she saw a 1,500 increase in traffic to her online shop. And that essentially converted in terms of an increase in sales for her. And the increase in sales for her was up to 50 to 100% based on the products from her brand that we actually featured in the campaign. And Victor, I think from AppT, he saw very similar benefits. And he also recognized that overall, it has helped to drive awareness about the small business community in Singapore, what they do, their passions, as well as, how we can support them. So in order to achieve some of these results, Visa actually invested in a 360 media plan across a wide array of channels that you can see here across the slide, across cinema, digital media, social channels, partnerships with the Smart Local, and we also worked with influencers who are appealing to first jobbers, to young families, and also our Team Visa athlete, Kwa Ting Wen, who is a national athlete, to really get the message across. And we really wanted this campaign to be easily accessible to people. And we're going to deep dive a little bit into the digital shoppable ads specifically, because when we looked at the results of the campaign, it was the digital shoppable ads specifically that helped drive a lot of the direct sales as well as direct traffic for these merchants. So I'm going to hand over to my colleague Lynn, and she's going to cover in more detail about the digital shoppable ads. Over to you, Lynn.
Thanks, Liru. So as Liru just mentioned, right, part of the overall campaign, our objective was to encourage our consumers to find out more about our featured local merchants. And of course, ultimately, we want them to purchase the products from them. So we leverage on a couple of shoppable ad formats to deliver this result. So the basic idea here is really, instead of linking our consumers to an external landing page, we want the consumer to interact as well as browse through the product on the ad itself without leaving the space or platform that they prefer to remain in. So as you can see here, we leverage on Facebook collection ad, where we feature the merchant founder video on top. And at the bottom, you can see that we feature about top 4 of their products at the bottom. And if consumer want to find out more, right, if they click on more, it expands an extendable broader catalog that feature up to 50 of their products on the ad itself. So only when the consumer want to check out or purchase, they will be linked to the merchant's website or app. So as a result, we've garnered about 2.0% click-through rate, which is a lot higher than our benchmark of 0.5% click-through rate. So apart from Facebook ad, we've also leveraged on, next slide. We've also leveraged on WooTech platform, right, for outstream video ad format, which is something out of Facebook environment as well. Essentially, how this works is when consumers are going through their content or article, they will stumble upon our video ad like so, whatever that you can see here. Similarly, we feature our merchant video on top, and they can also scroll through the product at the bottom. And this format actually gave us even higher click-through rate of 6.2%, which is 6 times higher than our past campaign. Back to you, Liu.
Thank you, Lynn. So our Where You Shop Matters journey actually continues, taking it to the next level. We joined forces with the Singapore Tourism Board to drive spend across even more local businesses as Singaporeans rediscover Singapore. And so both the ReDiscover Singapore and Where You Shop Matters brand platforms were brought together. And essentially what we want people to do is to rediscover every experience because to us, it may be just shopping, but to the businesses, it means everything. In creating this campaign, we used the marketing funnel to plan the campaign from awareness into consideration to purchase, and also to drive advocacy for a lot of the businesses that were featured in our campaign. So let's have a look in terms of the specific marketing funnel for the campaign. At the top of that funnel, we wanted to bring both brand platforms of Where You Shop Matters as well as Singapore Rediscovers together. Essentially here, we're asking people to rediscover every shopping, feasting, and exploring experience. And essentially, we wanted to feature a wide range of different categories as well as merchants so that many businesses as possible would be able to get support. And in the middle of the funnel here, what we did was to continue our strategy of helping local businesses become discovered and to bring direct benefit to their online stores. So from the last campaign that you saw, some of our merchants experienced up to 1,500 increase in traffic to their website, which led to sales. So this helped them to reach new audiences as well as new opportunities. At the bottom of the funnel, which is the spend section, this is the area that we've actually built in spend triggers through working with merchants that have an impact to the verticals. So for example, within the escape pillar, we work with hotels, attractions, and tours. Some of the merchants that we work with in terms of this pillar included the Klook, as well as wildlife reserves. In terms of feasting, we wanted to feature an iconic Singapore destination, Lau Pa Sat. And in addition, we also featured some of the homegrown businesses, local businesses, including the 1925 brewery. And in the explore pillar, and in the shop pillar, here we featured many of the Made with Passion merchants through our partnership with Shopee. And some of these Made with Passion merchants included Scene Shang as well as Bine Artisan. And throughout here, what we did also was to share all these merchant offers and partners with all our issuers and banks so that our issuer and banks could essentially also leverage onto these merchants' offers and share that with their customer base. What we also wanted to do was, in order to inspire even more SMBs to get online and digitize the business, we provided a SMB hub. And essentially at this SMB hub, we have an e-com starter kit. So in this e-com starter kit, if you're a business who's wondering how to get started online, or you're a business who is looking to grow online and you already have a presence online, or maybe you're a business who's already been online, but you're looking for better ways to manage your business online. Throughout the life cycle of your business, we offer different tips and tricks as to how you can essentially do this. And also within the SMB Hub and e-commerce starter kit, we also have different offers. For example, LinkedIn offers, Facebook offers, Google offers. These offers essentially help you to jumpstart your business online. If you're wanting to have a goal and you're not wanting to pay the full fee in the beginning, some of these offers actually help to do so. So essentially, that is kind of the full funnel of the campaign. And essentially, Lynn is going to take us through how, in such a comprehensive campaign, we targeted the right customer with the right message in the campaign and covered many passion points. Back to you, Lynn.
Okay, thank you, Liru. So if we are saying that media buying is all about targeting the right person and at the right time, right? Then I would say that the role of the data-driven creative, on the next slide. And I would say that then the role of the data-driven creative is really to ensure that we are delivering the right message to the right person. So hence, it is really crucial to be able to serve the right message to the right customers and at the right time. So with this collaboration with STB, on the next slide, we have created various YouTube videos ad version, and with different themes and duration as well. So what we did is we leveraged on YouTube's video sequencing capability that allow us to serve the longer form video. As you can see here, we have 6 seconds, 15 seconds, as well as 60 seconds. So we only serve the 60 seconds videos based on the interactions of the audience have on the 6 seconds video. And these allow us to increase our view rate to 72%, which is a lot higher than our benchmark of 55%. And apart from video sequencing capability, to the next slide, we also did a lot of A/B testing on our offers as well. So as part of this campaign, right, Liru just mentioned, we work with a lot of merchants to create a plethora of offers. And with all these offers, right, it is very important for us to be able to communicate each merchant stories as well as offers effectively to our audience. And what we did is we leveraged on Facebook dynamic ad capabilities, where we are able to shuffle the cards on the carousel ad that you can see here according to what resonates to the audience most. And this in turn gave us really high click-through rate as well. So just to sum up this entire STB and merchant collaboration campaign with a few key takeaways, onto the next slide. What we wanted to tell you is there really isn't a one-size-fits-all solution to all marketing campaigns. The formats that I shared with you, like shoppable ads or even the sequencing ad, might not work to solve your marketing challenge as well as business challenge. So fundamentally, you need to first understand and plan your consumer's journey. And in order to have a well-planned consumer's journey, you need to be data-driven. And you need to know your business data, you need to know your marketing data. In order to have substantial amount of data, you need to, don't be afraid to, test and optimize. Only through testing and optimization, right, you get a lot of insights and learnings that then supplements back to your consumer's journey. So that's all for the sum up for this campaign. So moving forward, I know that, COVID is still around the corner. Everyone is still hopeful that the travel bubble is happening soon. Hopefully it will. But we're still holding on to this hope, right? We wanted to share with you how Visa leveraging on our in-house data and capabilities to plan our cross-border travel campaign. So as you can see on the next slide, okay, so I think no one will disagree with me when we say that, digital channel is getting more and more important nowadays. So how Visa plan our end-to-end marketing process to support our cross-border travel channel is really leveraging on the different insights, data, technology, as well as analytics to build this end-to-end marketing process. So after this slide, we'll give you a glimpse of how this end-to-end marketing process comes to life. So Liru will cover the audience insights bit. Back to you, Liru.
Thanks, Lynn. So thanks for talking about the importance of data as well as insights. So in terms of insights, we wanted to share some insights from 2 research pieces that we have ongoing. And as marketers ourselves, we regularly actually look into these insight studies to draw, consumer behavior as well as trends in order to form our campaign. So the first is the Visa Global Travel Intention Survey. So this piece of survey is actually very popular among our clients as it gives them a view of travel intentions overall. And also what it can do is zoom into specific personas, for example, first jobbers, or young families, or for example, affluent, and help you to plan your product customer value proposition as well as the marketing campaign. In addition, we've run this survey and study in over 27 markets, and we've run this for many years now. So it's actually will be really interesting to see how the data evolves pre and post COVID. The next piece of research is actually this thing we call the Visa Green Shoots Radar. So what we know and what we're seeing right now is that recovery will be in many stages. We're probably, in one phase of the recovery, and it remains to be seen, how the recovery curve will essentially evolve. So we started this research, a couple of months after the circuit breaker, and this research spans all of Asia Pacific, so that we're able to identify trends between the different markets. But I think essentially what we're trying to do in this piece of survey is that recovery as well as opportunities are going to be, hard earned, right? So how we're trying to look at this is, what are the green shoots? What are the opportunities that are emerging? And we're trying to see if these sustain over the various stages of recovery and over different periods of time. So in the next couple of slides, I will share some outtakes from both pieces of research. Both pieces are very comprehensive, and today we'll just share a couple of outtakes. So one of the questions that our clients always want to know is how to drive spend and which areas to focus on. Traditionally, consumers have portioned off parts of their budgets for travel. So, during the pandemic, have they spent or have they saved travel budgets in a COVID world? And if they've spent, what are they spending on? Here in this slide, you can see that in Asia Pacific, the most common answer is actually very pragmatic. So if you look at, the lighter blue parts of this slide, most of the people across Asia Pacific, and many of these are, the corridors of which we have traditional tourists coming into Singapore, most of them have spent and saved some, especially in Hong Kong, being the most conservative in terms of the spend with the highest percentage of savings. And if you're keen to know more about where consumers have spent their budgets to evaluate if there's a business opportunity for you to diversify, this slide actually shows you areas where consumers have spent on. So other than living expenses, which is the top, the other areas of spend areas have been in areas of investments, medical and health, home upgrading, and in Singapore specifically, you can see that staycation is actually one of the top ones. So I think it's really a nod towards the extensive marketing from the Singapore Tourism Board as well as partners, as well as the availability of the SRV vouchers, which is quite unique to Singapore. So perhaps the next question on your mind is, so when travel returns, when it finally returns, who will be willing to travel first and what will shape their travel intentions? Among all the groups that we are observing between the Gen Zs into the Gen Ys, the middle age as well as the aging, what we can see here is that the Gen Y audience is most optimistic. And I think to be more certain about this group, what we did was also to break down in more granular subsegments of the Gen Y to see whether this trend still holds. So you can see that they are most optimistic and most willing to travel, whether it's for leisure as well as for work. So knowing this data point can actually really help you shape marketing campaigns in the future, because when travel opens up, what you can do is essentially to say, if I have limited media spend and I want to be very focused in terms of the way that I'm targeting potential travelers, this data here at this point of time indicates that the audience that you should be prioritizing is the Gen Y audience. And this data can actually differ according to markets. What we're showing you here is an Asia Pacific overall view. But if you're keen to get, for example, deep dives into whether the Gen Y audience in China versus the Gen Y audience in the rest of the world is also the most optimistic, that's something that we have some details on as well. Yeah. So moving on, and we also wanted to share what are the benefits, that we should focus on in attracting the future traveler? So one of the key things, which is a big question mark, is how does the future of travel look like in the future? Post-pandemic, so many new habits have been cultivated, some perceptions have changed. So in this slide here, based on what we have pulled, and we've pulled this now 2 times over 2 periods of time. The biggest changes that I think we can expect in terms of travel is length of trips. So people are being a lot more conservative. They want to take shorter trips. Choice of airline is really important as well. In the past, they would have been more price sensitive and willing to pay for more budget airlines. But here you can see a clear shift towards choosing airlines who are full service. Perhaps the perception that they are safer, that's a huge driver in terms of that shift. Choice of destination and itineraries has also shifted. You can see here that people are wanting to choose destinations and itineraries because they want to avoid crowds. So you may ask the question, Singapore is such a dense city. Once we open up, how do we live up to this expectation or this desire from consumers in terms of wanting to choose destinations which are not so crowded? I think that's where safety distancing measures, as well as being able to book slots that have safety distancing quotas, these all help to shape the perception of the traveler that it is safe to go to your attraction or it's safe to come to Singapore. One of the last things that we also saw in terms of the changing perceptions of what consumers in the future want is insurance. This is very high on the agenda. I think many banks as well as many issuers in Singapore have availed some form of COVID-19 insurance, but I think there's still a lot of opportunity in terms of when travel opens, in terms of also having some form of protection when it comes to booking, traveling, as well as when you're actually in the destination as well. And if you want to go into a market level, there are further insights as well. But essentially what we're showing you here is essentially an APAC overview. Okay, so having covered some of the expectations as well as some of the changing perceptions of what travelers look for in the future, what we also wanted to get a better sense of is, what what essentially motivates them to travel to a certain destination. And what we've done here is actually to take China and Chinese travelers as an example here, just to show you between things like local cultural experiences, outdoor ventures, escaping and relaxing, the nightlife, opportunity for self-discovery, leisure pursuits, experiential, and the perception of exotic destination. What actually motivates Chinese travelers to actually want to travel? So from this slide here, what we've done is essentially just highlighted for Chinese travelers, the top travel motivations are essentially local cultural experiences, nightlife, as well as leisure pursuits. So knowing this also helps you to prioritize to say, for example, within Chinese travelers, within Gen Y, the top things that you want to do is these 3 things. So while that's really good to know in terms of the three areas where they're most interested in, I think what we also want to provide is also more granular verbatim around what Chinese travelers deem as valuable. So looking at this, for example, which is around cultural experiences, what you can see here is that in terms of what Chinese travelers value and what they think are exciting in terms of cultural experiences, in Singapore, the Art Science Museum is being mentioned, but you can see that the interest in other countries' cultural attractions also shed light into what they value as well. Moving on to nightlife, Marina Bay Sands is a key highlight in Singapore. And I think what is really interesting, if you look at the verbatim here, as well as look at some of the feedback they've given, is how Singapore's nightlife attraction actually really stands out, is really unique against, the casinos and the nightclubs in, some of these other places like South Korea, Hong Kong, as well as Hanoi. You can see that the combination of the casino as well as Gardens by the Bay attraction in Singapore And the fact that both can also be enjoyed at night is a really key differentiator, which stands out from the typical casinos as well as nightlife scene in Hong Kong and some of the other markets. Lastly, in terms of leisure, I think based on the verbatim that you can see here on this slide, I think this is a real opportunity area for Singapore. As the top leisure attractions mentioned here are Taiwan's night markets, Hong Kong malls, street food in Bangkok, and riverside shopping in Tianjin within China itself. So unfortunately, none of the Singapore leisure pursuit attractions and destinations are being mentioned here. So I guess the question that we can ask ourselves is that if you're in the business of running a leisure business in Singapore, how can we, perhaps reposition similar attractions in Singapore, like the ones that we have here on the slide, and sharpen the value proposition so that we are able to attract more Chinese tourists. So that's a very quick snapshot of the insights from Visa's Global Travel Intention Study, as well as the Green Shoots Radar. We have, market by market breakdown, but what we wanted to do today was to just share a snapshot of what's available. I will now hand back to Lynn to cover one other area where we also mine insights from other than all the research studies that we have. Back to you, Lynn.
Thanks, Liru. So on top of these audience insights that Liru just shared, right, we then supercharge it with our transaction behaviors insight, working with our in-house Visa consulting analytics team to then create a travel predict model. And what this allows us to do is basically to come up with a segment group where we are able to then target more accurately through our digital campaign. And how this comes together is basically combining multiple data sources in our Visa data management platform across our clients' first-party data, our own VisaNet data, as well as third-party data where we work with companies like TripAdvisor, Adara, as well as OTA. And all these come together to build a very granular audience segments, which then allow us to prioritize the different audience segments to create a customized cross-border campaign journey for each of the audience segments across different messaging, different call to action, goal setting, data signals, targeting, as well as different optimization strategies. And next, we will leverage on our cross-border, very extensive cross-border creative library, as well as working with our Visa digital solution, which is our in-house creative shop, where we create compelling insights-driven creative assets to address the different usage barriers of each of these different segment group. And through our Visa dynamic creative optimization technology, we are able to deploy hundreds of these personalized assets at scale and in real time. And with all these solutions come together, right, it ensures that all our creative assets are highly relevant and actually resonates with the consumers. And of course, at the same time, it helps us to save a lot of cost and time when it comes to creative production. Next. And of course, last but not least, the most important bit of any marketing organization is reporting and measurement. Similarly, we have our in-house measurement methodology to measure our marketing KPI as well as business KPI uplift. For marketing KPI, we use our campaign evaluator, which is a survey-based measurement methodology that allow us to measure the marketing KPI uplift across the media platforms, the creative, as well as messaging. And this will allow us to know what worked and what didn't work. Then secondly, we leverage on our transaction lift analysis to track the cross-border transaction behavior of our targeted segment during the campaign. So with all this information, it kept us really well informed for our future campaign planning as well as optimization. So just to wrap up this sharing session today, I think gone were the days, right, where we used to do mass marketing, where we just broadcast the same messaging to everyone and anyone. And at the end of the day, you won't be able to hit the bullseyes if you are aiming at multiple targets, right? So it's very important that you are able to understand your consumer inside out. That way you can then create a very personalized and engaging consumer journey that actually drives results. So that's the end of our presentation today. I think we can proceed to the Q&A session.
Hi everyone, we're back and I'm sure we have lots of questions to ask. That was a really data-rich presentation. Thank you, ladies. I know that some of us on the session were not able to see the resolution on some of those slides because everybody wants to go through the research with a fine-tooth comb. So we'll be sharing a high-res recording after this session as well. Okay, we're gonna dive deep into questions. Liu, I think this one's for you. What do you think the visa research presented means for brand Singapore as a tourism destination?
I think we can see that Singapore is a top destination among many travelers. I think what the research aims to do really is to identify opportunities for us to uncover, the travel intentions of travelers. So in terms of, what has shifted in terms of pre-COVID expectations into post-COVID, so that we can better prepare ourselves. And also, when they're coming to Singapore specifically, what are they looking for? So I think in terms of the example of Chinese travelers, we showed that some of the key highlights for them was in the areas of nightlife, leisure. So what can we do and what can we learn from some of the verbatim from all the travelers that have participated in the survey so that we can sharpen the value proposition as well as the messaging in order to really attract these travelers to come to Singapore. Yeah.
Yeah, and congratulations on your latest marquee win as well on one of the projects that you've talked about today. So data has been mentioned by both of you ladies, but again, the challenge for a number of us on the call today, especially if we're small businesses, how do we look at, or what types of data should they look at when they're planning a digital campaign? So Lynn, I think the question is right now, so much data, how do we narrow the funnel and what do we look at exactly?
I think fundamentally, if you want to look at what kind of data is most important for you, right? So first, look at your business objective. What is your business objective? What is your business goal trying to achieve, right? And from there, find out which data that can help you drive this objective. You are not required to collect any kind of data under the sun, right? So need to kind of define and focus which kind of data help you achieve your business goal as well as your business objective, and then start from there. I would basically evaluate it this way.
Yeah, I think just to add
Yeah,
to
so
Lynn's point, I think
sorry, go
in the
ahead. Yeah.
No, no worries. I just wanted to build on Lynn's point. So I just, for example, in the campaigns that we run, in terms of the different parts of the funnel. So I think top of the funnel, the data that you really should be looking at in terms of how to measure success of the top of the funnel is anything to do with awareness. So anything to do with, reach. So impressions, unique number of visitors who have come to your website. I think this is good data to kind of collect. But then, for example, if you're looking at further down the funnel, and you essentially want to see, how do you convert all that reach that you're getting or all the impressions you're getting into actually something that drives traffic to your website, your e-com store, and ultimately to sales. I think that's where you can look at, for example, the digital shoppable ads that Lynn talked about, and the key measurement and the data you should be looking at is your conversion rate, which is your click-through. How many people who actually saw the ad actually clicked on it, click into the products that were featured, and ultimately landed on your website. So like tracking through all these from top of the funnel into the different into click-through rates and ultimately landing on your e-com store and your conversion will be important. but to be very, very specific, as Lynn mentioned, be clear on what your objective is, and based on that, be very focused as to what you want to achieve.
Yeah. Speaking of being focused, we have another question that has come in on the optimization. So using data to optimize your creative advertising. So are you able to do this mid-flight when a campaign's creatives are not working as well, or do you adjust and augment that and perhaps be a little bit Darwinian about that process?
Yes, definitely. I think that's the essential idea of optimization, right? But when it comes to optimization, please we need to be very clear what is the objective of the optimization that we're doing here. You cannot be optimizing messaging as well as like targeting group at the same time. So you need to know that you are, for example, we are optimizing towards the creative effectiveness. Then we look at which creative option worked for us. So in the middle of the campaign, if we find out that hey, this creative A seems to work a lot better, let's create more of similar creative option that is similar to creative A. Then optimize towards that and learn from it and see what worked and what didn't work and which one actually gave you higher, for example, click-through rate or higher better CPM. Then you change out the creative along the way. But I wouldn't advise you to have different optimization objective. So be very focused with your optimization strategy. Yes.
Yeah, building on that, Lynn, lots of questions coming through in this same vein. For a small business with a smaller budget than Visa, how would you recommend that we prioritize our budget for testing and optimization? And so again, not everybody has the luxury to create many versions and go through the rigorous process of A/B testing. How would a small business optimize this?
I think from a small business perspective, first, optimization can be done whether via paid media or whether via own channel as well, right? So first, look at optimization for your own channels as well. So if you're doing EDM email marketing, right, you can do optimization through there as well. Although it's not real time, but optimization more from a perspective of, let's say you send A/B testing of the different image of an email. That can be a form of optimization as well. And if you send one email to different control group and test group, then you can actually kind of get some learnings from whether option A is better than option B. That is a form of testing as well. Another sense from a optimization on the paid channel perspective, I think if I were to test, I will look at which channel actually gave me more effective cost per conversion or cost per awareness perspective. Then use that channel as your testing platform to then plan the different outcome for the different channels. So I would then focus on one channel first that it is more effective to you, and then use that learning for other channels. Yeah, so that's my advice.
Yeah. Before I close off this digital marketing piece, so again, we're hearing from the SMEs and the small players. So for a small travel agent, what is the most effective paid ads, SEO, social, if we have a limited budget? So with a limited budget, where would you put your money?
For small travel, can I get you to repeat the question?
Okay, so the question is, for a small travel agent, what is the most effective paid approach, SEO, social, if they have a limited budget?
Okay, so for travel agent wise, I can't tell you which channel is the most effective. You basically need to test first. So with a small amount, test the different channel. I think when you say SEO here, you probably meant SEM. From a search perspective, I think I wouldn't start off with Google search first in the beginning of your, let's say you are just starting out. Because I think the intent to search is not there yet of your brand. So perhaps you can leverage on from a search, maybe on generic keywords first. Then I guess if you have limited budget, social would be the most effective and cheapest option for you, because with Facebook ad, you can actually start out with a very small amount first and slowly build your awareness from there, and then push down the awareness of your audience down the funnel. So remember the funnel that we're talking about. So if you're just starting out, build that awareness, build that audience, and slowly nurture them down to the funnel. So I would think that social would probably be the most effective paid ad channel for now. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, lots of ways to start, but again, start
Yeah.
small, test it out, see what works for you. Moving back
Yes.
to the research, Liru, you talked a little bit about China and the Chinese traveler. We have a question here on Indian travelers. Any insights there to share with the group here?
Thanks, Del. Yes, we do. So the Global Travel Intention Study, actually also the Green Shoots Radar, both of them we conducted across Asia Pacific. So India is one of the markets as well. I think what will be interesting to see is whether some of the findings that were very specific to Chinese travelers would also resonate in India. I don't have the data, unfortunately, off the top of my head, but I'm happy to come back to this question offline and share some of these insights as well. Yeah.
Great. One more research question. So based on the visa research, is pre-visitorship targeting and engagement important? And how much does it contribute to the research strategy of visitors, and how do we approach it? So essentially, the pre-arrivals, how important is that, and how do tourism businesses get in on that early?
I think that's a really great question, and I think that also makes me think that you're really thinking through the entire life cycle of when a traveler starts to consider travel. And I think that's why we had the research, because what we wanted to do was really to capture what are the motivations, what are the drivers that will really help you to decide where you travel to. So definitely, I think pre-travel research is a very big thing. Personally, myself, and I know among my group of friends, they do extensive research across pre-travel destinations before they travel. And I think even more so in this COVID environment where, information is changing daily, restrictions are being relaxed and then they're being heightened again. The pre-research travel is very important, which is why in terms of the two studies that Visa has conducted, we don't just conduct it as a one moment in time, but essentially what we're trying to see is over a period of time. And we think that recovery towards travel will take, will go through many phases. Just taking a cue from the IATA, predictions, they are thinking that travel will come back in its full form in 2023, 2024. So as we ramp up towards, 2023 and 2024, consumer behavior as well as, what drives them to book destinations and what they research for will actually change. One thing that I didn't manage to cover, but is actually included in the research as well, is pre-trip searches. So the research actually does go into the detail of showing you at a market level, what are people searching for and how are they searching in order to inform their choices.
Yeah, thanks. So Liru, lots of data there that our tourism businesses can tap on. We have a question from the floor. Are the findings of the visa surveys available for public viewing? And would be great if we could find out more about trends from the different markets. Is it possible to share the research reports with us?
Yeah, we would love to share the research report. I think it provides a lot of insights as well as valuable, actionable points for small business, especially when we think through, how COVID has changed a lot of consumer behavior and how we should pivot, right? The research currently right now is available to Visa clients, and we're working with, for example, the Singapore Tourism Board and different partners to make this research available. So that will be one means in order to attain this research. Yeah.
Awesome. And with the research, a lot of SMEs can then get started on perhaps mass personalization marketing. We have a question here as well. Lynn, maybe over to you. How can an SME get started with mass personalization marketing?
I think from a mass personalization perspective, first you need to be able to have like a partner that you work with, creative partner that you work with, to able to create the plethora of creative first. That's one thing. And another thing is, do you have substantial data to work with to be able to then create the different segmented group? So while Visa, we work with our internal team as well as technology. I'm sure not many SME have that kind of luxury to enjoy that kind of technology. So I would say that start off by look at how, the kind of data that you have, come up with a process to categorize your different segment group. And then a lot of tools like Facebook ad or Google ad out there, it allows you to do mass personalization as well. Google have their own dynamic ad studio. Facebook also have that. So leverage on whatever that is free, that is available for you from Facebook as well as Google. Go through there and then start off that personalization journey first. But of course, you need to first have your data ready, basically segmentize your data base in a way where there's different segment group to then look at the different messagings that you think will resonate with each segment group and do the personalization from there. So I think I will start off with that. And another thing you can do from a personalization perspective, platform like MailChimp, which is an email marketing platform, allow you to do a lot of personalization technology as well. So yeah, these are some of the options that you can look at to start off the journey. And if you have seen good success, then look at maybe if there's any technology out there that you want to invest into, deploy it even further.
Thank you. We'll take the last question. So digital marketing is becoming a key marketing campaign tool for most businesses. How does Visa work or advise businesses to how does Visa work with or advise businesses to differentiate in order to capture audience attention?
Yeah, maybe I'll take that one, Lynn.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. And I think, with the pandemic in particular, we wanted to make a very strong effort as a company as well as a brand to drive digital inclusion. So, I think we started our digital inclusion efforts from when we started digitizing payment in store in terms of tap to pay. But essentially, we wanted to take it to the next level, especially with the pandemic. As most people are assessing, e-commerce or even, the things that they want to buy, the things that they love online. So I think one of the resources that will be a great resource to refer to is the Visa Small Business Hub, which is on visa.com.sg. Within the business hub itself, there is an e-com starter kit, as I mentioned, and essentially it's designed according to the different life cycle of your business. So if you don't have a online store right now and you want to get started, we have, for example, some partnerships as well as offers with Shopify. So Shopify actually offers different e-com website templates. So if you just want to get started and you don't want to go to the trouble of hiring a developer to create a website, you can get started very easily with a Shopify e-com template. Or for example, if you are already online and perhaps you're not receiving as much traffic to your online store or your e-com store or your website, and you really just want to drive more awareness or you want to drive more click-throughs to your store, that's where we have, the different offers with LinkedIn or with Google Ads, with Facebook for you to kind of give it a go and to try. I think some of these offers actually give a period of time which is complimentary. So if you don't have that much budgets, and we do realize that a lot of SMBs do not have that much budget, you can just have a go and get started with some of these offers. And then, as I mentioned, like perhaps most of you are spending time at home like us. And maybe if you're finding it difficult to get your team to be more organized, or you want more tools in order to connect your team, also on the e-commerce starter kit, we have offers and tools relating to Dropbox, Microsoft Office, all these productivity tools that help us to function efficiently and better at home. So I would say that check out the e-com starter kit as a starter. And I think also the other resource that is available from Visa is called Practical Business Skills. And these practical business skills modules is actually a free learning tool for any small business. You can just Google it, Visa Practical Business Skills, and it has modules across marketing, across setting up payments. It covers a wide range. The content is intentionally quite easily accessible and quite easily understandable. So if you want, some coaching and you want to learn in terms of setting up your online business, we have the very practical tools in the e-com starter kit, but we also have business courses to help you to get going. Yeah.
That's very, very useful resource. Thank you, Lyra, for giving us the full rundown. And thank you, Lynn, for giving us an additional insight into the ins and outs of testing, marketing, and even, starting small with all the free tools that are available. So thank you very much, ladies, for being a part of the Q&A session. And as I mentioned earlier on, if you had trouble viewing the feed and some of the great data that the ladies from Visa were sharing, we'll also be sharing a high resolution version of that with you, so you'll be able to replay this and also invite your friends to learn a lot more about digital marketing and how this can help support us in this post-pandemic world. So thank you very much, both Liru and Lynn, and we will definitely
Thank you.
have a lot of fun as we navigate our digital marketing journeys. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this year's masterclass, really focusing on optimizing and maximizing digital marketing in this post-pandemic world. Thank you for joining us again today, and we would love to hear from you. There's a cute little QR code on the right side of the screen, so we would greatly appreciate it if you could take the time to share your feedback with us, any comments, or if you have any questions, please reach out as well. I'm Delisha. Thank you very much for joining us today and enjoy your digital marketing journey. Thank you.